All right, and I've got 15 minutes, right? Overlord or whoever's.
Yeah, 15 minutes.
Okay, perfect, awesome.
You can hear him too, David.
We're both crazy, I guess.
No, I thought I was the only one, but thankfully.
Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watch Your Pass. Today I'm talking to Andy Fickman, the director of One True Loves, which is coming to theaters on April 7, 2023, digital on April 14, 2023, and on demand on April 28, 2023. We're going to talk to him right now, and while you're watching, if you can like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. It helps me out a lot. Thank you. So thanks so much for joining me. This is Andy Fickman, the director of One True Loves, which is coming to theaters on April 7th, 2023, digitally on April 14th, 2023, and on demand on April 28th, 2023. It is a romantic comedy drama that actually has a little more drama than I was expecting, and it deals with this difficult situation very, very well. So thank you so much for your time, and thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me on. I think people who don't necessarily know the book, Taylor Jenkins Reid, One True Loves, might not know what to expect. I do a lot of comedies, so sometimes probably the feeling is might be a little bit more comedic, but there's a lot of deep issues happening on this story, and I love people experiencing that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know you from one of my favorite movies of 2019, and definitely my kids' favorite movies of 2019, Playing with Fire, which I absolutely adored.
Thank you. One of my kids' favorite movies as well.
Yeah, exactly. So this is this was different, I think, because I expected this to be, like you said, more of a comedy, but then as you kind of dig in, you're like, this is kind of a very difficult situation for everyone involved, and it's handled like respectfully and not in like your traditional kind of movie tropes that you would think in any sort of romantic comedy where you have two people vying for one person. You would think it would be a very different path. So
I really appreciate you saying that. I think the challenge here, I really love the book, and Taylor and her husband Alex wrote the screenplay, so we really have the source with us the whole time. But yeah, the challenge is you don't want this to feel like a love triangle in the traditional sense. And I think ultimately it's a unique situation, and then you kind of want to ask yourself, I always wanted to feel like there should be no right or wrong answer here. Who Phillipa Sue's character, who Emma ends up with, she can't make a bad choice. When you start looking at it, you go, you're going to choose your husband or you're going to choose your fiance. But once you know what the real circumstances are, it's not about villains. It's not about, a track record of bad. It's about how love affects us at what stage we are in life, and how we grow and how we change. And, that to me, I always found is interesting now because of social media. Back in the day, if you wanted to find out what was happening with your ex, it was a lot of like going to your hometown and being like, oh, hey, I'm just curious. Have you run into David anytime? And they're like, David's got 5 kids. David's now married. Oh, that's who he married. Now everyone's Googling like, what happened to my ex-girlfriend? She's on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. So I thought this was a really dynamic and interesting way to approach it.
Yeah, and if you ask anyone from my hometown what happened to me, they'll have no idea. I haven't been back in like 10 years. So,
I respect.
Yeah, but no, I loved how it kind of like it recognized, and I think movies have done this, but I think this, because of the situation, has a very nice way to represent like how people change over time, and that's not a good or a bad thing. It is just kind of how things are. Like, I am a very, very different person than when I first met my wife and we started dating. We have very different interests than we did then. And that's just kind of life and how it works. And,
I think what you just said literally hits the nail on the head, which is we change. And we either change together or we grow apart. And so many times when you hear that a relationship isn't working, sometimes you might be because we have different interests now, or we're different people. And that doesn't make one person bad. That doesn't make the other person bad. It's just the experience that life and time, really changes everybody every day.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this movie had one of my favorite lines in it, and I guess maybe a slight spoiler, but I don't think it doesn't really spoil anything because it doesn't say who chooses what. But I love when Emma's sister says, you basically have to choose between like who you have become and who you could be. And I thought that was just such a fantastic way to like frame it.
It really is kind of, it was our motto on set, which was, you don't want to vilify sort of Emma. You don't want to make it like, you know, she's bad because she chooses one or the other. And you're either team Jesse or you're team Sam. To me, I was team Emma. And that was, where is Emma right now in her mindset? And also knowing the suffering that she went through, knowing the loss that she went through. And, you know, this story could go so many different ways and it would be a celebration no matter how it ends, but everybody wants to know what her journey is going to be. But yeah, I think that definitely on set, we talked about that line and that concept all the time.
Yeah, for sure. And I do love how you were team Emma, because it is easy to kind of like choose a side in this movie, but you know, at the end, the real kind of conflict here is with Emma and like who, you know, she wants to end up with and who like, she thinks is the best for her.
And I think as an actress, Phillipa Soo is so wonderful because, you know, I kept saying it's all in the eyes. She has to be in love, rightfully so, with both gentlemen. And she has to be able to look at them and smile and laugh and find comfort and joy in their presence, because those are two significant real loves. And nobody, her sister, her parents, nobody really can help guide her to what the correct answer will be, because it's going to be different for everybody.
For sure. And I think, you know, that's a perfect transition for this cast. This was a great cast. I think it's probably easy for Phillipa Soo to kind of be in love with both Luke Bracey and Simu Liu, because they are great, you know, actors, and they both were great people. So
I was like, who is the ugliest cast I can find? I need two despicable men. You know, these are bright stars on screen and off screen. And it was interesting. We cast Simu first, and then we began that process of trying to find Jesse. And the goal was, what I didn't want it to ever feel like was that Emma had a type. I didn't want it to feel like, oh, I see that they both are like two different Darrens on Bewitched. Like, oh, I can sort of see that they're both the same type of Darren. And I remember there was, after I got done meeting with Luke, who I was a big fan of Simu's because of Kim's Convenience. Shang-Chi had not even, there were no trailer, nobody knew Shang-Chi.
oh wow.
I'm a fan of Luke's Holiday, and I really like his Point Break. But I remember when I got done and I knew Luke was going to be our Jesse, Simu said, oh, I want to see Pitt, like, you know, who's my opposite? And I found the most modelly looking pictures of Luke, which is pretty much anything online, is Luke like Luke with his shirt off, leaning against a motorcycle, Luke like holding a hawk, Luke, and I sent him to Simu, and I was like, this is who she also is in love with. And Simu was like, great, got it. Now I understand. This is my entire real life growing up. I always lost to that guy. So I love that we were able to have them all together.
Yeah, for sure. That must have motivated Simu to then be like, okay, well, so now I have, you know, 5 weeks before filming, I'm gonna have to get into a training regimen. And
the good news was he was literally on press tour for Shang-Chi, and then Shang-Chi opened the weekend before we started filming. So all the like cast and crew, we all went to go see the movie in Wilmington, and he's so jacked and ripped that we were like, okay, well, I think that the two of them will do a lot of like, can I get, is this the scene where my shirt comes off? So very easy.
Yeah, for sure. I was gonna say, like, you know, the film starts with them in high school, and seeing high school version versus real life is like, good job. Like that, you know, that is some dedication that he put into the gym there.
We had so much fun casting young versions of the three of them, and great young actors. And weirdly enough, young Jesse Cooper is also from Australia. And so when we were filming Cooper, where Luke is from, when we were filming in Wilmington, Cooper came and actually lived with Luke. So the two Australian Jessies were together, and Phineas was hanging out with Simu, and Una was hanging out with Phillipa. So the kids were learning from their adult versions, or vice versa, I should say.
Yeah, which is perfect, because then they could hopefully pick up some mannerisms and things that you don't necessarily you can't easily direct, but they could just maybe pick up over time.
That's right. That's right.
And, yeah, I mean, if I was on set, I would definitely hang out with my older, more successful, better looking counterpart for sure.
It was very funny because sometimes it was almost like they each had their little mini me, and they'd be like hanging out on set, and everyone would be like, "Hey, we're gonna go eat now," and I'd be like, "Oh, I see the groups are now well connected."
Exactly. So we mentioned earlier kind of how this has a little bit more drama than comedy. Were there other versions of the script or the film that maybe went heavier on one or the other? Did you have to edit that stuff down, or was this kind of
You
always the
know,
trajectory?
it was always this balance. I think if anything, there were moments of more, there was some comedy elements that I think were so funny, but also tilted the film maybe away from where that balance was. And so we ended up removing some of the comedic scenes, but again, Taylor wrote the book, Taylor wrote the screenplay with her husband Alex. There wasn't so much deviation. The fans of the book should be able to see it on that screen.
For sure. And I also noticed, this might have been movie magic, but maybe it was also how it was filmed, that this kind of was filmed all over the place. Was this just one big like excuse to have a nice vacation all over the world before everything locked down?
Here's the craziest thing. We shot it during lockdown.
Oh, wow.
There were more scenes than any movie I've ever done. And when some movies where I've got like studio megabucks and you're like, now we're going to fly here, now we're going there. We shot all of this in and around Wilmington, North Carolina. And B-roll we shot actually in Acton, Massachusetts, where the book is set. But when I first got to Wilmington, I had friends who had shot there over the years, and it's such a film-friendly community. And I'd say, well, now I need to find this locate. Now I need to find this country. Now I need to find, and we found everything. And every day I would take pictures from scouting and I'd send it to Taylor and Alex, and they would freak out. And Taylor's like, you don't understand. When I wrote the book, that is what I imagined the bookstore would look like. And I'm like, well, I'm standing in it right now and we're going to film here. So we just got very, very lucky filming in Wilmington. A great place to film.
That is awesome. I was going to ask, like, the wedding scene looked like maybe it was in the Outer Banks, but I was like, no, this has to be in Maine. It must be some Maine lighthouse.
No, well, we did get to go where the lighthouse was about 5 hours up the coast. Okay. So that was, and that's where the wedding. So that was definitely a drive, but still within our kind of zone of how we were filming. And that was also, we took the entire cast and crew for a couple of days, bus and trucked it up there and took over and had romantic times at a lighthouse.
That's awesome. So I know we have very limited time. I'm going to switch. I call it the lightning round. They're just very lightweight, quick questions about the film. I want to see how your experiences map to things in the film. You can feel free not to answer any of them. I will not be offended, but I try to keep them very answerable.
All right, let's
First question is, did you date your first crush?
Yes.
Excellent. Where is your first love? Do you know where they are?
Yes, because of social media, and we still stay check in from time to time. Very happy with their life in Texas and very happy with their world, and always very kind and supportive of me.
That's fantastic. That's great.
Are you trying to make me cry?
That would be great for the channel. That'd be awesome. Sam is a high school band teacher. Were you in high school band?
I was in high school drama and high school drama, high school band, high school orchestra, and high school choir. All were within our own little wing at our school in Houston. And all of us were interconnected because we were always doing musicals and stuff together. So I know all of those teachers were a part of our life.
For sure. Band adjacent, we'll say.
They were band adjacent, though when I was in junior high school, I was in the band. I played the cornet.
Oh, nice. I played the clarinet, so very similar, few letters. Yeah. And the last question is, so Jesse spent a lot of time stranded somewhere during this film. Have you ever been stranded anywhere? And you can interpret that however you wish.
we were making the movie Anaconda. It was my first project. I was a baby producer on it. We were shooting on the Amazon in Brazil. And in order to get back, we shot literally the whole thing on the water. And then we were staying at a hotel, the Hotel Tropical, and we would take speedboats would bring cast back and forth.
Oh, wow.
And so, but they were small. And so I was one of the last ones because we wanted to let the actors go. I was also the least important person. And they took everyone off and they said, we'll come back for you. And I was like, great. I was on that boat. It's nighttime on the Amazon and I'm sitting there and imagine all of a sudden everything was just amplified and I'm looking around and the boat captain was there who only spoke Portuguese. I spoke zero Portuguese and we just sat there and it was probably about 45 minutes before they were able to come back and get me. It felt like I had been there all night and every splash, every sound, I just imagined I was going to be eaten alive on the Amazon. So my 45 minutes was the most abandoned I'd been.
But given what you were filming, that makes sense to be freaked out because like you
And
were just on edge.
Amazon and there's
Yeah.
piranhas and there was every possible, but you constantly heard splash and you knew something had slithered or dove off the bank into the water and we were just right there in the middle. So you could see, I could have swum to either side. I didn't want to. And also at that hotel, when we first got there, our very first day of filming, they had captured a real anaconda and
Oh,
everyone
wow.
thought it was a publicity stunt and Columbia Pictures was like, not a publicity stunt. That's a real end. And every day you would go through back to the hotel and there were so many bugs and weirdness. That probably had me the most scared ever.
And from that fear, you channeled that into your directorial career and have now, now have One True Loves being released on April 7th, 2023. This is Andy Fickman, the director. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the conversation.
David, I had a blast. Thank you. And thanks for bringing up all of my past high school emotional trauma.
Hey.
And I will call my therapist and we're going to get into it.
Excellent. Can I interview that? That would be a great interview segment too.
I'd
And-
like you just to be sitting behind me because that way I can keep turning to you like he asked the question. He set it off in me.
That was Andy Fickman, the director of One True Loves, which comes to theaters on April 7th, 2023, digital on April 14th, 2023, and on demand on April 28th, 2023. It is a romantic comedy drama that has more drama than I was expecting, and it deals with a very difficult situation well. If you liked this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.